Good afternoon. This is Dr. Princess. I just want to highlight a few things that the millennial may currently be dealing with. I watched a news article, or maybe I should say, I saw a news article, and it prompted me to make the list of things that the millennial may be currently concerned with in 2024. And the list is 13 items included. I'm going to go through the list and say that this could be a precursor to 13 separate videos. Because I could make a video about each topic. It looks like most of you only like to watch a video that's about 2 minutes long. So that means our attention span has been reduced to that of a YouTube short or a TikTok video. But nevertheless, let me read the list. The first thing we have to be ourselves concerned with are other humans as we operate individually. Humans in the workplace, humans while driving, while dating, while navigating relationships, whether it's friendships or a dating relationship, and even the navigation of marriage, for some people. That's something that has to be navigated in 2024. Number two, the environment. I was in AP Environmental Science in high school, always an environmental nerd, so to speak. Always was concerned with the earth. So the environment includes air or the sky, water, and soil. And then space is separate, in my opinion, because obviously we get to discuss different levels of the atmosphere or the stratosphere, and we are not within atmospheric pressure any longer when we go into the solar system. However, some would argue it's what we do on a daily basis on this planet that sometimes determines the health of the atmosphere many, many layers above the one in which we can live or breathe. In addition to the actual earth, the other piece of the environment is animals. We have so many animals that are sick. We've had more recalls from 2023 to 2024 than we had in the 5 years leading up to COVID, according to a news article I read this past weekend. So now we have to be concerned with the environment. The animals are important because what are we eating? Number 3, business deals, business contracts, employers, employees, etc. The technology that we allow in and out of our businesses or don't allow, is that going to be the downfall of the business that we created? That's a concern. That's number 3. Number 4, spirituality and religion. Are we nurturing? Are we watering that? Of course, we could say that probably should have been listed as number 1, but I didn't write these in any particular order. The millennials should be concerned with their spirituality and religion, because if we grew up believing in a system, now we have to determine what is our reasoning for continuing to follow that system? What is our conviction? Are we going to be swayed by the opinions of others or the lack of religion? And the fact that for most people, it's laughable to still believe in anything other than self. We have to accept that the environment around us and the people that we interact with, quite a few, and I would dare say most, according to the religious studies that were published post-2020, have forsaken whatever they believed at one point or another. So I dare say your conviction probably should be stronger than it was pre-pandemic. Number 5 is mental and emotional health. I combine them not because they're the same. One is considered your mind or your psyche, your ability to think, make rational decisions, or study. And the other one is based on ability to navigate your emotions in the moment, in real time, as well as, in the future. How composed can you, maintain yourself to be in a work environment, in a relationship, or in the face of whatever you face? Because in today's world, you could face anything any day. So are you able to maintain your mental or emotional well-being? If not, or if so, regardless to the answer, does it not need to be continually fortified every day? And I separated mental and emotional from physical. And I would dare say number 5 also includes psychological, because mental is ability to think, or IQ. Emotional is your EQ, but then your psychological health is why you do what you do. So that all of that's number 5. Number 6 is the physical, because as you have more months and, as the year turns around your birthday, you could find yourself on the end of the spectrum where your physical health is failing. And I would also mention that it's not a guarantee that your physical health will be what it was. It has to, it again has to be fortified. It again has to be watered, nurtured, in order for you to even see the results you had last year. You're not the same age you were last year or 6 months ago, and your body can remind you of that, and that could add to oxidative stress and all kinds of things on your organs if you don't focus on your physical health. 7, hopes, dreams, and desires. If you are in the millennial age range, you're 26 or 27 until about 44, you still have the ability to re-navigate or change the direction of your life, regardless to what you hear or what you see. Do you have the mental fortitude to make your hopes or your dreams or your desires a reality, or will they be forever something locked in your psyche? That's a lot, because you're at the age where you're not 21 anymore. So you can't say, well, I did this carefree thing, but I was barely 20. I wasn't even legal. I was 21. I just turned legal. Everyone excuses a 21-year-old, right? But when you make a quote unquote mistake, or a life mistake is considered after the age of 25, it's when people expect you to kind of have everything buttoned up, or most things buttoned up, or to have made sense of at least a quarter of your life, which is why a lot of people have quarter century crisis at 25, because they know this is the end of my carefree in their mind. For those of us who, have an inherent subconscious or an undercurrent of heightened responsibility, or the natural propensity to ruminate or overthink things, you don't have that freedom anymore after 25 for many or most of us. You now accept, I should be making this amount. I shouldn't be homeless. I shouldn't live on a friend's couch. That becomes your reality. I do believe that there are plenty of people in their late 40s and 50s who started a new career, who made a move that was diabolical to what really could be logistically fleshed out. It landed them where they really wanted to be in life, but that's not the majority. Most people pretty much know that they should probably accept wherever they are at a certain age, because anything less is considered irresponsible. And that is even if you have no responsibility, like in terms of a spouse or children. That's even if you're single. Has nothing to do with outside responsibility. Taking the leap of faith after a certain age has nothing to do with anything except a few things, like keeping your safety and societal norms, like having a roof over your head. Are there people that have accepted van life? This is where they want to be, regardless of what other people think? Yes, But is that the average? Is that the norm for households in the U.S.? No. The nomadic life is not really fully accepted or understood by most of us. So hopes, dreams, and desires, I personally believe, aside from spirituality and religion, which is number one, to me, that's number two. That's the most challenging thing to try to continue to water are your hopes, your dreams, your desires, despite whatever you see after 25. Number 8, your family. And that includes the family from whence you come, as well as the family that you may have or may have begun to create, which means you might have had a child out of wedlock, you may not. But now you have your parents or your grandparents to care for. It's any variety of the people from whom you come, as well as the people with whom you're trying to become. Like you're trying to become a family with this person over here while you look out for the elders over there. And family is a heavy hitter for someone that's approaching 30 or approaching 40 or in those age ranges, because you're not in your 20s. You can't really, in my opinion, you can't really cry carefree life anymore. And you have to accept that now you have to consider other people. 9 are your friend groups. And let me add with 8, let me go back for a second, especially if those people poured into you. You know, it takes a rare type of self-absorbed individual to remain individualistic despite the people who are around them, which is, you know, poured into them, even if they're long distance or in another country, as well as the people who they have poured into or created. There is a sense of irresponsibility or callousness if you are carefree despite having a family. Number 9, your friend groups. Again, this is an intentional type of relationship. It's a little different from family because these people didn't raise you. They may have grown up with you. You might have known them for 20 years plus. However, the bonds that you forged in middle school, high school, college, sometimes even elementary or professional school are so meaningful that it would be careless or selfish to turn your back on these friends. They sometimes held you down when your family couldn't, quite frankly. And if you're a good friend, you understand reciprocation. You understand that life is not guaranteed in terms of the states and the stages of life, and in terms of the successes or the rises and the failures or the quote unquote failures in life. So who's to say if you turn your back on your friend who was there for you when you had nothing, that you won't feel some type of enormous pain that I don't want to experience? So that means you have to actually still pour into your friendships. And I mean, this is just my belief. I think you should. I don't think one should ever get to a point where they're isolated so much psychologically and physically or mentally, such that they have forgotten who helped them achieve, or they feel it's not even relevant to reach out to those people who were in your study group, who were holding your hand in prayer, or who made you a plate of food, you know, in the dorm across the hall when you were just too tired. You'll never forget the acts of kindness or the acts of service, whatever you want to call it, the camaraderie and the friendship. And so you should never turn your back on those friends, in my opinion. And number 10, and this list includes 13, so I'm trying to wrap it up. Number 10 is your home life, you know, and I wrote down 2 or 3 things with home life. I wrote, does this include your work-life balance? I think so. This includes your ambiance. This includes, you know, do you want to have a pet? Does your home life include a pet, a person, people, balance? Have you included plants, flowers? Have you included fragrance? What have you included to make your house a home? And what type of energy do you pour into your house or your apartment or a condo or a townhouse, whatever it is, to ensure that this is still your safe haven where you can unplug away from society and what people think. In addition to the home element, the work-life balance piece of it is the neighbors. Part of home life, so there was 10A, which is the work-life balance and the home that you create. And then 10B are your neighbors, your neighborhood, and your so-called community. I'm not so sure I believe in the concept of community. I've discussed this many times before, but I understand some people do. What I do accept is that regardless to whether there's a true camaraderie within the community, you do have neighbors and a neighborhood. And if you're a homeowner, you have grass to water and a roof to ensure is within codes, so on and so forth. So your home is something that you have to somehow reserve and cut out time for. 11, finances. It's not just one aspect. When you discuss the finances that the millennial has to consider, they have to consider, in my opinion, the global economy when it comes to what's happening in the stock market. If they're an investor, I don't care if it's, traditional stock market, money market accounts, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. I really don't care what the portfolio looks like. Global economy is important. The U.S. economy, equally if not more important. And within the U.S. economy, what the millennial has established: retirement accounts, earning potential, liquid assets, digital access, which I've already kind of gone over a few options of those. That is a piece of it. Inflation, current housing situation, future housing dreams, current utilities, other expenses, current healthcare, future healthcare, or savings accounts, which will hopefully be able to pay for that future healthcare, and your quality of life. All of this, well, let me just add that what you have in terms of what you have attained within the U.S. economy is what determines social opportunities and, in turn, your quality of life. I mean, not just social opportunities. I just named everything that it will kind of highlight. It will highlight what your retirement accounts will look like. One number for your earning potential can also increase your future earning potential because you could do investments with those things. Your housing is going to depend on your earning potential as well as your credit score, as well as your retirement account, because honestly, you may or may not live in the same house during retirement that you were able to build and to live in and possibly even pay off the mortgage while you were in the working class or in the age group before the age of retirement. And in turn, what you have obtained by the age of retirement or whenever your disability kicks in or otherwise, now you have to consider your quality of life as an elder or as an aging adult in this country. That is what the millennial has to consider. Gen X has already had to look at these factors, especially those of them who retired early. And now we have a situation where quite a few of them dropped into poverty during COVID-19. So the millennial has to consider, should I save more than what the Gen Xer who did the early retirement? Should I save more than them? Or should I simply push out the date or the age of my retirement? And this is going to change how much money I put in my retirement plan, so on and so forth. But number 11 is finances. Number 12 is greed. And 13 is a result of greed. So I'm going to just briefly mention these because I'm almost at 20 minutes. Greed, deception, evil, and fear, in my opinion, are the undercurrents of today's society. The millennial has to be concerned with the undercurrent from which people are talking. What is the non-speaking psyche saying? So for example, if a person has a conversation with you, it is my opinion that the non-believer, or the person who has no religious background and no basis of God, that person is going to come from probably one of these four: a place of greed, deception, evil, or fear. So everything they do, whether it's at work, at home, on a date, etc., so on and so forth, it's going to be through the lens of one of these four. And so you have to learn to read people. A lot of, people are speaking online about dating and this and that, but it doesn't matter how much advice you get if you don't understand the undercurrent or the undercurrents of the heart, the wicked heart that most people have who are unbelievers. Then you'll be forever baffled at why dating doesn't work, in your opinion. It's not because it doesn't work. It's because there's an undercurrent in society. The undercurrent in society has a grip on the hearts of men. There's a scripture in the Bible that talks about the heart of man is wicked above all else. I'll have to look it up and tell you guys what that scripture is. But the reality is, most people are walking around spiritually dead, and instead they operate with these spirits here: greed, deception, evil, and fear. What are they greedy for? People, things, money, self, places, i.e. to get flued out, their image, and drugs. And that's 13. The millennial needs to be concerned with the undercurrent and what the undercurrent produces, which are excess of people, things, self, i.e. ego, places that people want to go that they cannot afford, the image of self, again, goes back to ego, as well as their business image, and drugs. And what prompted this random Tuesday rant? Well, first off, I'm off work today. And second of all, I saw an article on Apple News where the DEA has proposed a reclassification of marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. Now, I'm not getting into a medical marijuana debate with you guys. I don't care what anyone says. As a healthcare professional, I've seen it. I see what it does. I understand the medical marijuana argument. I also understand that whatever is legal makes it easier to get. Whenever we make something legal, we have made it easier to obtain. And it's easier to get into the hands of the wrong people. So I'm not here to argue for or against anything. What I'm here to do is shed light on how the undercurrent of society has bled into laws being made, because the very same people sitting in legislature could be the very same people abusing other people, themselves, things, going places, creating images, and drugs. I mean, it's real clear that sometimes people get to a position of power, and while they're on the way up, they're doing stuff illegally. When they achieve or obtain a position, if it's not done in integrity, sometimes things are passed so that people can make more money. It's for no other reason. And not to say that all of them are using other people, but some of them do use other people for their arguments. And the goal is more money. So with the undercurrent of greed and evil and deception, they might pass a law that they don't even believe is the right law to pass, but because the dividends will pay, they're going to pass the law. If it makes dollars, it makes sense to most people. So when you are out and about, scratching your head and trying to figure out why you feel overstimulated, consider these 13 things that you constantly have to combat. Psychologically, you have to understand that sometimes it's multiple factors. That's the reason why you walk away from a workplace sometimes with a migraine. You are now in spiritual warfare against spirits, not people so much, but really this list explains the spiritual undercurrent of today's society. It bleeds into other humans, the workplace, how people act when they're on the road driving, dating, relationships, marriages even, the environment, how we treat the environment as well as our animals, businesses and how they conduct business, spirituality and religion, even some people who are in the pulpit saying that they preachers, etc. I mean, there's not a sector of society that this undercurrent does not touch. So I'm thinking if I create a series of what the millennials should be concerned with in 2024, this is what it's going to encompass. 13 things: humans, environment, business, spirituality and religion, mental, emotional, psychological health, physical health, hopes, dreams, and desires, families, friend groups, home life, finances, greed, as the undercurrent for the number of things that I listed. So you guys can listen or not. You can ignore me and continue to be puzzled, or you can listen and find understanding and acceptance and knowing society has changed. It's not just gonna spontaneously revert to what it was pre-COVID. The shift that occurred 4 years ago is a permanent shift, and it's bleeding out into the behavior of other people. So that's all I'm gonna say at this time, and we'll see what happens.